What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am Dave from Chase the Summit, and we are live today because it's New Year's Eve. And this is something I've done for the past couple of years. I think I've had a New Year's Eve live stream. I was actually watching last year's live stream this morning, and I thought it was kind of funny because I talked a lot about like upcoming devices, what I thought was coming, and then the year happened, so I was able to look back at this old live stream, see all of the devices that eventually came out, and see myself talking about what I think was going to happen. That's a very confusing statement, but yeah, that's what I did. I thought it was kind of fun, so I thought I'd do it again. So next year, we can go back and watch this one. Wow, that's really forward thinking. Before we dive in, I'm going to address the elephant in the room. I don't know if my camera's going to focus on it. There it is. My Band-Aid. Yes, I am aware I have cut my finger while slicing an avocado yesterday. So enjoy being distracted by that. For the audio listeners out there, sorry you can't see it, but my Band-Aid is very bright yellow. It's bright neon yellow, and it actually kind of matches my watch band, which was not intentional. If you're joining me right now, I see a lot of people in the live chat. If you are watching, go over to the live chat and say hi. Tell me where you're watching from. What's going on today? What's the weather? What did you have for breakfast? Anything. Drop it in the live chat. Also, if you have any questions for me, I plan on doing a lot of Q&A in this live stream where I'll go through all of the live stream live chats, and then we'll kind of just take them in real time and go with it. This live stream is not scripted. I have a loose plan on what I want to talk about, but I didn't really write it down in full. So today we're just going to be kind of winging it, going back and forth, bringing people in from the chat so we can talk about what's going on in your life. And then I'm going to talk about what's going on in my life and what's probably going to happen in 2023. Before we dive all the way in, I do want to give a huge shout out to the Patreon members and YouTube members that help support the YouTube channel and podcast. If you are a Patreon member or YouTube member, I really appreciate it. And if you don't know what that is, that's a way to help contribute, help keeping me do what I do here, help turn this camera on, because it does validate that people actually enjoy it. So if you want to check out the Patreon group or join YouTube members, check out the join button down below or the Patreon link in the description down below. I'm planning on doing a lot more like exclusive stuff with Patreon. I just haven't decided on what to do there yet. Maybe some exclusive live streams or some videos. Yeah. Other than that, I do have a whole pile of gear off to the right here. I've got all the GPS watches we can talk about today. And I plan on being on the air for, an hour and a half, and we're going to go from there. A whole bunch of people watching already, a bunch of people in the chat. I'm going to just say hi to a few. We've got Victor Nan. Thanks for joining, Victor. Joshua Culp says, wait, it's New Year's? Hate to break it to you, man. Yes, it is. We've got Justin Turnbow. Happy New Year. Thanks for joining. We got DBZ. Happy New Year. Chris, Service Ost Germany. I don't know what that means. Hopefully it's not inappropriate. Hopefully it means Happy New Year. Hike with Mike says, Happy New Year. What do you think about this warm weather in our neck of the woods? Yes. We got to address that. I'm sure wherever you are, if you're in the USA, you're probably experiencing some wild weather right now, whether it be very warm or very cold. So here in New England, I'm in Massachusetts, like 20 minutes north of Boston. And about a week ago, it was crazy cold here. We were like single digits, 10, 15 degrees Fahrenheit. And now, for the past like 2 days, it's been like 55, 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which feels like freaking summer in December. I can't believe today is like, what's it today? A high of 54. So my kids are outside playing today. They're playing in the backyard, wearing a light jacket. I came here just wearing a t-shirt. It's pretty weird. I don't like it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't love frigid cold temperatures, but I also don't like the feeling of the world ending. And that's kind of what it feels like right now because it's unseasonably warm. However, I was watching YouTube earlier and there was a meteorologist channel and the guy was talking about how this like warm weather front, I'm probably using the wrong word, but this weather system is going to like be forced out by cold air, and it could end up resulting in like crazy frigid cold temperatures not too far down the road. So we're going to have to see what happens with that. I don't know. But right now, my kids are really enjoying being able to ride their bikes in the street without ice in December, which is wild. So yeah, I'm enjoying it, I guess. Eric Powerman says, hey, Dave and company, hope you're doing well. So let's start here. What are your race goals in 2023? We're going to get there. That's on my list of things to talk about today. We've got Fernando from Chicago. We've got Jesse Cleaver from Peoria. Derby, UK. That's cool. We got Josie. Happy New Year. Thanks for joining. Okay. So before I get to the rest of the questions here and start going through my topics that I've loosely written down, I also want to let you know that I do have a year-end sale going on for the merch store. Shameless plug. It's ending soon, so I just wanted to bring it up here. The merch store is at chasetosummit.com/shop. I sell these hats. I have running shirts. I've got all kinds of gear. I've got buffs, hoodies, all that stuff. And if you use the code BFCTS20, that's BFCTS20 at checkout, you'll get 20% off your entire order. I'm running low on these hats. I'll probably reorder, but if you've been thinking about it and it was just a little bit too expensive, check out the link down in the description. Good plug, Dave. Okay, so I've been having a little technical difficulties with my setup here, my teleprompter, so I can read my notes here. So bear with me. It's working now. Hopefully it doesn't get unplugged. Okay, so another thing I want to bring up in this live stream is the podcast. Like I said before, I've been doing a lot of podcasting. I'm actually 47 episodes into the Chase the Summit Trail Talk podcast. And I called it the Trail Talk podcast because it's really like this in like, we're out on a run, on a trail run or something, and I'm just talking, and it's kind of a way to pass the miles. If you enjoy listening to fitness tech news or ultra running news, things like that, that's mainly what I talk about there. And I'm trying to grow that podcast. That's kind of one of my New Year's resolution. I want to do more with it. I want to get more guests. I just want to put more energy into it. So if you wouldn't mind, go check out the podcast at the link below and follow the podcast on Apple or Spotify or whatever and give it a rating. 5 stars would be great. But that all helps as well. And, it's been getting off the ground. I also need suggestions on who I should bring on as a guest for the podcast, because I had a whole bunch of guests and it kind of dropped off for a while. I'm not a great interviewer, so I'm still kind of learning, but it'd be really cool if you had a suggestion, somebody who might vibe well with me or somebody who just want to hear from, drop them in the chat here and maybe I can get around to it, maybe reach out to them. That would be fun. So check out the podcast. Okay, last plug. Last plug there. Let's see what else I get on my notes here. This is so loosely, it's pretty poorly written, which is why I'm jumping around so much, because I kind of just did it right before this. But I just wanted to come on the air and mainly thank everybody that's been watching the YouTube channel and listening to the podcast this year, because it really means a lot to me. And it's weird that, I started this YouTube channel 3 years ago, like 2 years ago, really. I started it 3 years ago, but I only had a handful of weird, if you go way back on don't do it. It's kind of embarrassing. But if you go way back to the beginning of my YouTube channel, you'll find videos about ice climbing and building rock climbing walls and running my first ultra marathon, and a lot of that stuff. And I didn't think it would really grow that much. I just wanted sort of a creative outlet because I liked working with video. And here I am, 3 years later, still doing it. And, I've been really excited with the growth. I can't believe we're eking close to 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button because I really wanted to hit that before 2023. It didn't happen, but we're close. So definitely hit that button. It really helps out. A couple of stats about the channel. 9 million views this year, which is just bananas, right? 9 million people decided or less than that, but 9 million people clicked on one of the videos on the Chase the Summit YouTube channel, which blows my mind. So thank you for that. And also we gained 39,000 subscribers just this year. So huge growth. It's been very exciting. And this live stream is really just a way for me to live tell you thank you. So really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for commenting and doing all the things, because it's been fun. It's been a great, outlet for my creativity. And this all stemmed from, during the pandemic, I had idle hands. I had to do something. I didn't have a lot of friends or family around. So I turned on a camera and I started doing this a lot more, and it's been a lot of fun. So thank you so much for following along. That was long-winded. Okay. So let's jump into my goals of 2023. That's kind of a good segue. So I've got a bunch of goals for 2023, some very personal that you probably don't care about, but I'm going to talk about them anyways. And then others that are, more YouTube related and things like that. So like I said, one of my big goals for 2023 is to work on the podcast a lot more. I want to get guests on there, trail runners, coaches, dietitians, all kinds of people from all walks of life to learn more about, the community out there, and maybe learn more for myself and bounce ideas off people and just get more out there, just learn more from other people. So stay tuned for that. There's going to be a lot more from the podcast, more live streams, things like that. Also, another big goal this year is I'm actually building a new studio for this channel. That's very exciting for me. It's actually a big project. It's not going to happen right away, but it is in the works. So you might see some changes around here. It's probably going to look a little ugly for a little bit, transitioning, but we're getting there. It's very exciting. Stay tuned for that. And finally, in terms of like content creation, like I said, a big goal for next year is to hit 100,000 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. I know it's just a number, whatever, but if you make videos, it's kind of like a milestone. It's exciting, and it would be cool to have one of those plaques back here someday. Plus, my kids would think it's really cool, so there's that. So that's the content creation side of things when it comes to goals. The other side of things is like my fitness and running and things like that, and that's where I'm going to focus a lot more on here's the big goal. 2023, I want to get into the best shape of my life, physically the best shape of my life. If you don't know, I've got 4 kids, and for the past 10 years, we've been going through the cycle of having babies and finally, starting to feel normal again. And then we have another baby, and then it just keeps happening, and it happened 4 times. So this year, I'm pretty sure we're done having babies now. And so I decided this is the year to focus more on myself and try to get back into like the best shape I've ever been in, because right now I'm not in the best shape of my life. In fact, I think in 2019 was probably one of the best years for me. So I want to get back there. And I keep getting reminded by my Garmin VO2 Max and like Strava's fitness goal or fitness tool or whatever that I'm not there. So that's a big goal for 2023. And on top of that, what's going to come with that is going to be a lot of like training vlogs, day in the life type videos, structured training plans, workouts, things like that. I'm going to try to make a lot of content around that and diversify and not just be the GPS watch guy, even though that is a lot of fun. And I'll obviously keep doing it. I'd like to, think outside the box a little bit, grow a little bit. So that's another big goal in 2023. On top of that kind of big piggybacks into the races I want to do this year. So I'm looking at, I want to do 2 100-mile ultramarathons. I've only ever done one in a year because it takes a lot out of me to train for that. It's a very time-consuming process. I want to do 2 this year or in 2023, and I'm undecided on which ones. So if you've got a suggestion, make sure to drop them in the chat or DM me or something on Instagram. That would be great, because I've been going back and forth on which ones I want to sign up for. It's really tough because I could do one that I've done in the past, like the Vermont 100 or the Mid-State Massive here in Massachusetts, local races, but I've also thought it would be fun to maybe travel and try something new, maybe a destination race, something like that. So let me know if you've got any suggestions. I'd love to hear from you. That would be a lot of fun, but I want to do 2. I want to do 200 milers this year, and then a couple of 50 milers leading up to that, and probably a few 50Ks before that. So it's going to be a busy year. And here I am. I haven't really signed up for anything. So this is all talk, but I am fully intending on delivering on everything I'm saying here. Otherwise, I might have to delete this live stream because it'll be pretty embarrassing. Okay. What other guests or what other goals do I have for 2023? Generally, like I said, I want to just like think outside the box when it comes to content for this YouTube channel. I don't want to be just the GPS watch guy. I want to do other stuff. And if you got ideas for that as well, drop them in the chat, because I know if you're watching this live stream, you're one of the, 1%, because when it comes to live streams on YouTube, like they don't get a ton of views. So I know the people that are watching actually care about this stuff. So I would love to hear from you. Okay. Those are my goals. I think that's my goals. With that, I'm going to jump back into the chat and bring some more people up on screen that we can talk about here. Eric Paramond, question. Tuning in from Colorado Springs after my 18-mile long run, getting some good base mileage under my legs for 2023. Heck yeah, dude. Nice work. Greetings from Atlantic Canada, where the snow is melting and I had the window open. Quite unexpected. Yeah, we got the same thing going on here. Like I said, it's pretty wild. We got Justin Turnbow from Tulsa, Oklahoma. With all the new ultras coming out, how do you narrow it down to what you would like to race? That's really tough. And what I was just talking about, I can't decide on what to do. And the tricky thing is, what I really wanted to do was the Western States 100. I mean, everybody wants to do that, obviously. I only had one ticket. I didn't get in. I had like a 1% chance of getting in, but I had my fingers crossed when they pulled the lottery. Unfortunately, I didn't make the cut. Danilo Ruano. I am terrible at names. I'm sorry. Hello to you. Danielle Fenego. Hey, Dave. Greetings from the Netherlands. Love your channel. Keep up the good work. Regards from another dad with a dad bod running ultras. Heck yeah. Got to keep that dad bod strong. Chris says it means hello from Germany. Oh, thank you for the translation. Bavarian. Very cool. Greetings from Toronto. We're also having unusually mild weather. Thanks for joining, Susanna. And Marco B says, last Saturday was cold as crazy here, and now it's like 50, 60 or 54. I know, it's crazy. Hi, Dave from the UK. Great channel. Keep up. You're a real inspiration, and signed up for my first ultra watching your channel. That's awesome. Congratulations. What ultra was it? Leif Nilsson says, Happy New Year's from Sweden. Thanks for joining all the way from Sweden. That's so cool. Eric Ruman says, hello from the Midwest. Same weather here. So weird. Daily MTG. So what you got planned for your Patreon in 2023? Yeah, like I said, on Patreon, I'm going to start putting out some exclusive content. I think more behind the scenes, no production value, kind of shot with my phone, just day-to-day stuff where I can tell you what I'm testing, what's going on, any updates that I might have, any news for the day, things like that. Still working on it. I mean, Patreon's tough because it is like a whole other platform where you have to keep up with it. And I feel bad when I don't, because there's people, contributing and hopefully, I want them to feel valued and things like that. So I need to come up with some more unique plans. I'm also trying to get some discounts from brands. Excuse me. So I could have like exclusive discounts for people in the group for certain types of things. Still working on that. But yeah, stay tuned. I really enjoy watching your vlogs. Hope you start making more. Yeah, so I'm going to focus, like I said, a big goal this year is going to be a push to get back into what I thought was the best shape of my life. And during that process, I'm going to be making a whole bunch more vlogs, trail running vlogs, on the treadmill, in the gym, what I'm doing, trying to hold myself accountable. And yeah, that'll be happening very soon. Happy New Year. Thanks. Happy New Year to you as well. Eric Paramount says, probably late for a lot of the big 100 milers, but I'm taking a second shot at Leadville. I got to 100K in 2022, but just psychologically bonked. Here we come. Yeah. Leadville was on my list. It was on my radar, and I procrastinated, and I missed the registration date. So I didn't get in. I didn't sign up. I should have put more emphasis on, staying on top of the ball with that one. But alas, I did not, unfortunately. So maybe next year. Good luck to you. I hope you make it past 100K this time around. Tic Tac, sweltering summer ultra here in Massachusetts in August was a lot of fun in 2022. That's interesting. I can't recall. I'm in Massachusetts and I don't know where that one's based. Could you let me know where that's from? Like what area that's running? Danielle Finego says, we have some nice 100 milers in Europe. I do know that. Unfortunately, it's very expensive for me to get there. It's very difficult and time consuming to get there. So I don't know if I will get there, but I do know you do have some pretty amazing trails and races there. Matthias Sventos. I'm here. I'm trying to get to 50K and a 50 miler this year. Nice. Good luck. I hope you are successful in your mission. Ryan Tiermate, I want to see you run a marathon like the New York or Chicago in 2023. I think I'm a little late to the party to do that. It is something I think would be kind of cool. I'd like to try Boston, run Boston since I'm local. I'm 20 minutes from the course, so I could get there pretty quickly. It's been kind of a bucket list item, but I've never done it. And it's just so hard to, first of all, qualifying for those races is damn near impossible. I think the qualifying time for Boston's just under 3 hours for men. I can't do that. So probably not going to happen. I could probably run it as a sponsored athlete with a team or something. So I'll have to look into that, but yeah, that would be cool. That would be a lot of fun. Brian's Quiddish. Happy New Year from Kellis, Ireland. Happy New Year to you. Michael Sellers says, do you ship to the UK? Yes, I do. Unfortunately, it's kind of expensive because I actually ship everything myself. So I'm in Massachusetts. So if I ship to Europe, it ends up costing me quite a bit. And unfortunately, I have to charge you for that. So if you go to the website, it'll tell you the shipping cost in real time. Eric Paramount says, there's plenty of shoe tubers out there, so I think a focus on all the apparel and accessories, bits and bobs that runners use for ultras. Amazing how small details matter. Yeah, true. It's interesting. I find it fascinating how many shoe tubers are out there, mainly because I have a really hard time reviewing shoes myself. I find them to be so subjective, opinion-based, where one person could really like a shoe and another person could absolutely hate that shoe based on the shape of their foot, their running economy, their stride. There's so many variables that I'm uncomfortable sharing my thoughts about shoes. I have made some shoe videos, but I find them very difficult to make. So I'm always fascinated by people like Mike Coe or Kafuzi or Ryan Clayton or Seth. They all make great videos. I really like their, even the Ginger Runner. I love all their stuff. I really enjoy watching their videos. I just find it fascinating that they navigate their way around that so well, where I'm just I don't know what to tell you. It hurt my foot and I feel bad about that. But maybe that's why I'm not a shoe tuber. I don't know. Mills MMA. Hey dude, greetings from Newcastle, England. I've got 2 kids, so I feel your pain. Balancing training and family life. Good luck. Yes. It's funny if you don't have kids, the way it works is when a new baby, first of all, if you have no kids and then you have one kid, it is earth shattering. Your whole life changes. You can't just put your shoes on and go for a run. There's a lot of planning, a lot of strategizing, calendars, here's my time, here's your time, a lot of co-parenting and trade-offs. Not to say it's bad, but it's a lot more complicated. But the way it works is you have one kid and then, a year or two later you recover. And when they're a little bit more self-sufficient, they're walking around, they're, functional and they don't need you every 2 seconds. Both parties, mom and dad, are both parents can start to train again and start to feel a little bit more normal. But then you decide to have another kid. And so the process starts over again. And it's like, you forget about it. It's almost like you tune out what happened and you are starting from scratch all over again. And for me, that means my fitness is like, okay, baby born, fitness drops, tanks dramatically. It's like VO2 max 55, VO2 max 50. And then, a couple of years later, it's like creeping back up. Oh, back up to VO2 max 55. And then another baby's born and it's like tank. It's like, I don't want to blame, obviously I'm not going to blame the baby or my family or anything. It's amazing to have children and grow a family and things like that. But it is very difficult on the dad bod. The dad bod feels it. But yeah, I'm bouncing back now. My daughter's, which year and a half-ish now. So we're starting to normalize a bit, which is good. All right. But good luck to you, Mills MMA. 2 kids. Are you going for 3? It looks like you're an MMA fighter too, judging by your name and your thumbnail there. Daniel Guerra, may the year 2023 be very healthy for everyone and a lot of running. I agree. Greetings from Mexico. Thanks for joining. Joseph Lamb, what do you recommend for a newbie runner as far as starting to run, training, diet, and etc.? That's a tough question. The one thing I will say is a lot of people tend to overthink running, and it's easy to do, especially if you go on YouTube and you watch all these videos about me pointing at GPS watches or other people talking about shoes or another person talking about what hat to buy or what headlamp, what sock. There's so many things. There's so much tech out there, and it's very easy to get caught up in that and then overthink what you actually need. In reality, you could go to your closet, put on any comfortable clothes, sweatpants and a t-shirt, get some old tennis shoes or running shoes that you might have laying around, and go outside and run. It is really that simple. Starting, if you've got a desk job, you don't move around a lot every day, starting with just a half a mile or a mile, just moving the body, getting out there, getting some air, getting some sun. That's all amazing. And I think you'll find by doing that, you probably won't waste a lot of money on things you don't need. I think a lot of us, when we get into the sport, we buy all these doodads and widgets and maybe like a jacket that's a couple $100, and then it turns out you don't like it or you don't wear it. So, start with what you have and then add to that or adapt from there. And in terms of training, I'm not going to give you advice because I'm not a coach, but I would say start slow. Like I said, a mile, a half a mile, depending on your fitness level. If you're somebody who's reasonably fit, maybe you go to the gym and you lift weights and stuff, maybe try doing a couple of miles. I don't know. But establish a baseline. And then I think a safe move is to do that 10% rule. So if you're running 10 miles a week, add 10% to that every week. So 10 miles turns to 11 miles and then so on and so forth until you hit your goal. And, just have fun with it. If you're a beginner, if you're someone just starting out and it's miserable, then you're probably not going to stick with it. So try to have fun with it. Maybe find a local group or a friend that can start with you. And I think that would be helpful. I hope that helps. Again, I'm not a coach, but that's my best insight. Joseph, have you bought shoes yet? There you go. You got to buy some shoes. Chris King, hello Dave, love your channel and all your work. Thank you and Happy New Year. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for joining the stream. Eric Paramond, talking about the 50K to 100 mile progression. Nice. Hello from Basingstoke. I like that Stoke is in your city name. That's cool. Basingstoke, UK. That's cool. Great content this year. Hoping to see more race videos. So hope your race calendar is packed. Maybe a UK race. I'm in for 300 miles already. Starting training now. Wow, that's amazing. I don't have anything in the UK yet, but if you have any suggestions or a very inexpensive way to get there, I'd be all ears. Let's see. Someone asked, is that the Phoenix 6 on you? No, this is the, I can give you the overhead cam. This is the Garmin Epix Gen 2. I've been wearing this one for a few weeks now. You may have seen a video probably 3 weeks ago that I posted where I talked about transitioning from the Garmin Forerunner 955 to the Epix. Basically because I scratched my 955 that's around here somewhere. I'm clumsy, and I decided to start wearing the sapphire display for durability. Victor Nan says, no fitness goals except to shed 10 pounds. Focus is to develop my career in 2023. That's a good goal. I like all the team effort here. Everyone helping out Joseph in starting his journey in running. Very cool. All right, so now that we've gone through the chat a bit, I do want to go back and talk about the next topic here is sort of what I think's coming this year in terms of fitness tech. This channel's loosely based around, GPS watches and things like that. And I thought it might be fun to kind of speculate on what I think might be coming from some of the bigger brands out there. By the way, this drink I have is not beer or alcoholic. It's actually a Dasani water in a can. It's the first time I've seen that, but it actually tastes pretty good out of a can. Okay, so the first brand I want to talk about is probably the one you'd expect me to talk about right off the bat. It's going to be Garmin. Garmin. I think, first of all, I want to talk about the fitness tech landscape as a whole right now. In 2023, what are we going to see? So 2022, as you know, if you've watched this channel, was crazy busy. So many new releases left and right. It was a hard year for me to keep up with. So many new things came out, from all these brands, from Garmin, from Suunto, from Amazfit, Coros, everybody. Apple was a big one this year. And I have a hard time believing that 2023 is going to be the same. I have a feeling, a sneaking suspicion, that it's going to slow down because we had that pesky pandemic a couple of years ago that really put a hamper on the whole industry, and nothing was coming out for a minute there. Then last year, things started to loosen up, and so it was like a flood of new devices. And I think in 2023, it's going to be kind of the opposite. There's the floodgates open in 2022. In 2023, I feel like things are going to slow down a little bit. So with that, I want to talk about what I think's coming. So with Garmin, they're in an interesting position. Last year, they came out with the Phoenix 7, the Epix Gen 2, the 955, the 255. I think there were a couple more. The Instinct crossover, which is one of the more recent ones. And they all had a lot in common. They had that multi-band GPS built in, the AMOLED display on the Epix Gen 2. But one device that I thought was really interesting that I don't have with me right now was the Garmin Bounce. So if you don't know what the Garmin Bounce is, it's actually a kid's watch. And my 10-year-old got one from Santa for Christmas this year. So I'm actually going to be reviewing it on YouTube. And it's kind of a weird watch to review because it's a children's watch, but I think it represents something. I think it's a bigger deal than just being a $149 kids watch. And the reason why is because it has LTE built in. It has a cellular connection built in. And it's not just an LTE connection like we saw on the Garmin Forerunner 945 LTE that I have here. This watch came out, 2 years ago, and it featured LTE with a subscription, and it was, pretty cutting edge for its time, but it was limited in its use because it wasn't like a recreational LTE. It was more of a emergency, like an SOS kind of LTE, where you could signal for help. You could tell people you were okay. You could share your location, but it wasn't really like a just for fun kind of thing with the 945 LTE. And that's where the Garmin Bounce comes in. It's a children's watch, yes, but it has this element of being an LTE connected device with the capability to communicate with friends and family. You can send voice messages, text messages, you can share your location, you can start a live track and share that information with friends and family. And that's where I find it to be pretty interesting, because if you took that technology and you smushed it into something like the Garmin Epix Gen 2 or the Fenix 7X, you'd have a pretty compelling device on your hands that doesn't exist today. But the fact that the Garmin Bounce exists at all, even though it's just a kid's watch, says something about where the technology stands right now. But with all that said, that's where what I'm thinking for Garmin this year. I don't think we're going to see cutting edge technology when it comes to GPS accuracy or a new heart rate sensor. I don't think we're going to see any of that. I think we're going to see a lot of the same, which will be like the Fenix 7 or the Enduro 2 for, in this case, or the Epix Gen 2. But I'm wondering if they're going to come out with something that's like a Fenix 7 Plus or a Fenix 7 LTE or Epix Gen 2 LTE, where they incorporate that technology from the Garmin Bounce into one of these more, professional level or adult designed GPS running watches. So you'd be able to send and receive text messages and share your location without having your phone on you. I think that's the future for Garmin. Obviously I don't know anything. I'm speculating. This is entirely guesswork here, but I have to say the fact that they have the technology in their possession and they haven't quite used it yet in a watch like this says something. That's my guess for Garmin. That's my big speculation for where they might be going. So the next brand I want to talk about here is Apple. Another big one. What are we going to see from Apple in 2023? Well, the Apple Watch Ultra I think it's a big hit. I think it's selling well. It's really interesting. I really like this thing. And it's one of the two watches I gave like a shout out to in my last video that I was like my favorite things of 2022. But it's very expensive and it's very big for an Apple Watch. So what I think is coming in the next year for Apple is, I think the Apple Watch Ultra was kind of a test of, whether or not this thing would sell. And I think they proved that it would sell. But now I think they're going to offer a smaller option when it comes to the Apple Watch Ultra, like an Apple Watch Ultra SE or Lite or something like that. Maybe it's a little cheaper. It's a little bit smaller footprint. I think that'd be really cool if they could maintain, really good battery life like they have on the Ultra. That would be my guess there. In terms of like a big, like an Apple Watch Series 9, I don't have a lot of like huge expectations there because, their iterations are so small now. It's almost like we've hit a point of diminishing returns. You know what I mean? So I feel like the Apple Watch Series 7 and the Series 8 are so similar that the Series 9 is probably going to follow in a similar suit, or they might move into kind of a squared off design, like what the iPhone, the iPhone design with the square edges. Maybe they'll roll that into the Apple Watch. That'd be kind of interesting as well. But I don't know. I mean, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think's coming from Garmin, Apple? Who's going to do what in 2023? I'd love to hear from you. I'm sorry I keep drinking mid live stream. It's really dry in here. I think there's like dust in the air or something. So gotta keep hydrating. Another brand I want to talk about here is Coros. So the last big release from Coros was the Apex 2 and the Apex 2 Pro. Two really solid options. And they didn't come out too long ago. But I think what I'm most excited about is when they update the Koros Pace. So this is the Koros Pace 2, $200, and this is probably one of my favorite, probably one of my, at $200, it probably is my favorite running watch at that price point. It has a good build quality, good reliability, a lot of features, good software integration, and it's $200. So what I'm looking forward to is when Koros updates this watch to the Koros Pace 3 or whatever they call it, because I'm hoping they keep it at that low end price point with all of the same, with a ton of features, and maybe they give it like multi-band GPS or a bigger, brighter display or something, just to give it a little bit more oomph to bring it up to today's standards. I think that would bring this watch a long way, because really good value still for, even in 2023, it's still a great watch. But that's probably my most excited, the most excitement I'm going to have from a Koros device this year. And the other brands that we're going to shout out is going to be Suunto and Polar. These are two brands that I feel like they've slowed down quite a bit. Although I do want to check out the Suunto 9 Peak Pro, which I do have coming. I should have it like today, next week, maybe. The holidays kind of slowed everything down around here. And I've been really looking forward to testing that out, because it does seem like it solves some of the issues that I've had with some of the Suuntos of the past. So pretty interesting watch, but I feel like they're not pushing the envelope anymore. Like Suunto for a long time was like the staple of ultra running or hiking. They really kind of had a huge part of the market share. And then everyone else kind of came in, like Garmin and even Koros, and they just moved at such a crazy pace with innovating and technology and pushing the envelope that I feel like, Suunto kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit. They still make great devices, but when you look at the price point, we're looking at, the Suunto 9 Peak Pro's like $690. Is it $600? $700? It's a very expensive watch. And for that money, you could get a Garmin Fenix 7 or even an Apple Watch Ultra or something. And there's just a huge divide in terms of the technology and, the ecosystem. So it's kind of a hard sell, but I do plan on checking out the Suunto 9 Peak Pro. But I do hope that in the future, there's some, more innovation, something different. Because for a minute there, they were trying with like the Suunto 7 had an AMOLED display in Google Wear OS, but that kind of faded off a little bit as well. And the same goes for Polar. The last release they had was the Polar Ignite 3, which I personally had some issues with in terms of GPS accuracy. In some of the user interface was a little bit laggy. And again, I feel like Polar isn't, they're not innovating like they used to. Their menu system's been the same for like 10 years. And I'm hoping for a refresh there. But I am looking forward to like the next iteration of maybe the Polar Grit X that I have here. I feel like this watch particularly, it really checked a lot of the boxes when it first came out. And I think it still has a lot of potential. The design's pretty cool. It's actually one of my favorite looking watches. I just wish it had a little bit more when it comes to like navigation and mapping and some of the core functionality. But those are my thoughts. All right, let's jump into the chat here, see what's going on. Oh man, I gotta scroll back a bit. Oh, here's a good question. Liz Pyro, do you plan on starting to post on Strava again? Yeah, that's a weird one. So if you follow me on Strava, I link my profile in the description of my videos, but you might notice there's not a lot of activity shown. And for a while, I had everything on Strava. I would post everything publicly and, it was fine. But then after a while, I started getting some weird messages from people, talking about like where I lived, which was kind of concerning. And then B, criticizing my training or lack thereof. that it got to a point where I was like, screw it. I don't need validation from people. So I started hiding most of my activities. So you'll notice that my privacy settings are in such a way where my runs are not shown on Strava. I run just about every day, whether that's on my treadmill or out on my neighborhood roads or on the trails. I'm out there every day, but I don't post all those activities on Strava for a variety of reasons. That said, if I race, if I run an event, or if I do something, that I'm proud of, that's in the mountains or in the woods or something, I will likely make that public. So it's worth following me anyways. I think maybe I'll start sharing my treadmill workouts again, if that's something people are interested in. I don't know. But spoiler, I'm just an everyday dude. I'm not like an elite athlete. But like I said, I do have a lot of like training style videos coming up about my personal journey to get like in really good shape. So maybe I'll start sharing more. But noted. Thank you. Greetings from Arizona. You inspired me to resurrect my running after a 10-year layoff. Keep up the great work. Happy New Year. That's awesome. I love hearing those stories of anybody who's like, hey, you inspired me to do this or that. I just find that so incredibly rewarding. So thanks for letting me know. Hello from Charlestown. I'm glad you're a GPS watch guy. I'm hanging out with the Apple Watch Ultra, prepping for 2023. Awesome. Hope you're enjoying it. Hugo Liria says, I am also a father of 3 kids, and it's always difficult to find time and go outside and run. My goal for the next year is trying to do some more strength training. Do you do any? Happy New Year. Funny you bring that up. I genetically look like I work out, but I actually don't do a lot of upper body strength training or even like core training or anything like that. But lately, I've actually been focusing more on that. I've been doing like daily planks, which is pretty interesting. And I've also been doing like some general like body weight workouts after my treadmill workouts to, I don't know, it just makes me feel more like robust, more stable, especially at my age. I'm like getting closer to 40, which is not fun. But as I get closer to 40, I do feel like I need to start focusing on more of my whole body and less of just running, because, as you age, things start to fall apart. So I got to hold it, got to keep the duct tape on, where I can for as long as possible. Michael Sellers says, what is your watch of the year for 2022? If you watch my last video titled my favorite things in 2022, it was kind of a tie. The Apple Watch Ultra was one that I really liked. It's incredible. It's maybe not the best sport watch, but the experience with this thing is just crazy. It's a really fun, really well thought out, really well designed watch. But on top of that, I also give, it's kind of a tie where the Garmin Epix Gen 2 and the Garmin Forerunner 955, they're all equal to me. The 955 I really like. I have it around here somewhere. The Garmin Forerunner 955 I really like because of its particularly lightweight. It's so light, and it has so many features in it with, proper full-blown mapping and navigation, and it's basically everything a Garmin Fenix is, but in a plastic case. But the Epix Gen 2, on the other hand, I really like because of this display. It just feels more modern to have an OLED display on a watch like this. It's just really nice. So I've had a hard time deciding which one's my favorite. If I had to pick one, like gun to my head, pick one watch, probably the Epix Gen 2, but I'd be very upset about it because I like all 3 of these. And honestly, I switch between these so frequently now that I don't know. They're all great. But that's, it's my personal opinion. Just because I say that doesn't mean it's the Bible and, everyone should buy these watches. It's really up to you. They might be too big for you. Maybe they have too many features that you won't even use. There's a lot of lesser expensive watches out there as well. Eric Paramon says, I really wish Coros would put out a chest strap for heart rate Tried a variety, tired of all the variability between sensors, seasons, runs, and okay, yeah, that makes sense, where my RPE stays consistent. Well, I mean, they don't necessarily have to put out their own chest strap. You could get a Polar H9 for like $59. I think they're on sale for like $49. That's the chest strap I use in every single video. I have a Polar H9, a Polar H10, the Polar Verity Sense. Polar makes like rock solid heart rate straps, so I tend to lean towards them. And those will pair with your Coros watch without an issue. So Coros doesn't have to make one. It'd be cool if they did, but I honestly question how popular it would be and how much money they would have to invest in that. Matthias Svento says, I've never done a marathon either. I've done a few half marathons and one 50K. Technically, if you've run a 50K, you've done a marathon. See that? See what I did there? Brian Squiddish says, I'm not really built for ultras or marathons, but I do all right. Never know what the future holds. After my last marathon, said I was never again, and then I felt I was missing out. Funny how that works, right? Like, I feel like at the end of all of my 100 milers or 50 milers, I'm like, why do I do this? Never again. And then by the end of the day, you're scrolling the registration forms on seeing what else is out there. MK says, beautiful camera quality and depth of field, killing it in the AV department. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I try very hard. Matthias Vento says, Apple has to up their battery life without having to finagle all the settings. Yeah, I agree. You know what I wish Apple would do is just give more customization to the users. For example, their like low power mode. It's cool that low power mode exists, but I wish I could tweak it to how I want to use it, because out of the box you get, I think it's like 1 GPS ping every 2 minutes. I wish I could set it to be like every 30 seconds or something, so you get a little bit better accuracy, but you still get your battery life. I just wish there was more customization. It's almost like, you know, they treat the Apple Watch as if it's an iPhone, where with the iPhone, it's like, you know, iPhone users don't want to mess with all their settings. They just want it to work. And that's kind of how they treat the Apple Watch. But I do wish there was like maybe even a way to like toggle advanced settings for people who don't want to mess with that. Just leave it buried in a folder that's called advanced settings and don't touch it if you don't want to touch it. But if you are a nerd like me, yeah, go into the advanced settings and be able to tweak to your heart's content. But yeah, they do make it kind of tricky. Brian Squidge says, Dave, I think Garmin will focus more on running power, but they need to have it on a few more devices and more knowledge to the average runner. Yes, that's currently a huge problem with running power. A lot of brands are giving it to you, like, even Apple now. You've got Polar doing it. You have Coros, which is weird. They're kind of dropping it for that new effort pace metric. And then Garmin now has wrist-based running power, which is great. The problem with running power is, first of all, it's not standardized. So, 200 watts on my Epix Gen 2 is going to equal 100 watts on a Coros watch, or 150 watts on a Polar watch, or 80 watts on a Stride Pod or something like that. It's all over the place. So if you use multiple devices, there's really no way to quantify your effort based on running power. That's the first issue, which I think can be resolved if these brands get on the same page and everybody just kind of tweaks, everyone just agrees like Stride is the way to go. Stride is the gold standard. Everyone copy them. That would be fine. They probably won't do that, but that's what I think they could solve it. They could solve that problem. The other issue with running power is they give you the numbers and information, but they don't tell you how to use that information, how to digest it, if you're a beginner runner and you see your running power graph, you're like, cool, but what do you do with it, right? So I wish these brands would take running power after the fact, and then break down your workout or whatever you're doing and try to give you some information on your activity based on that metric. But they don't do that yet. So it would be cool to see all of the brands grow in that department. Matthias Svento says, heck, the Chorus Pace 3 could even be 220-ish. It's going to be a hit. I agree. Depends on what they do, though. I'm nervous because like the Chorus Apex 2 I have here, this watch is killer. I really like the Apex 2, but it's expensive. And it's only expensive because they put really nice premium materials on it. Sapphire lens, titanium bezel. It's built like a tank, but the price point of this is almost as much as a Garmin Forerunner 955. And the 955 has full-blown, routable maps and training tool, like a whole bunch of stuff on the 955, not present on the Apex 2. So my fear is that they're going to do, the Pace 3 will have a higher price tag, but not as many features as the competition at that price tag. That's where the original Coros Pace 2 for $200, this thing was like nearly impossible to beat from the competition because the closest thing to it was the Garmin Forerunner 55 at $200, and it didn't have all the same features. It was missing a lot. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what they do there. I think there's a lot of potential. I would have to imagine that the Pace series is probably their highest selling watch by a long shot. And probably the one they sell the least of is probably the Vertex 2 at the highest price point. So I feel like they should really lean into that budget market because there's a lot. Everyone wants to spend less money. So Salim Mezik says, hi y'all. Hey, thanks for joining. Matthias Ventu says, I said Suunto seems to be an afterthought. Maybe not on your channel, maybe another. I don't think they're an afterthought. I think they were like one of the pioneers of the market, which, changed the game. They inspired, Suunto was one of the first out there to do, a trail running or a hiking style watch. And then Garmin and everybody else kind of came into the game because they saw how much opportunity there was. But unfortunately, Suunto just hasn't been able to keep up. They still make really good stuff. And I'm hopeful, that the brand and their design team can, push the envelope. But I think currently, like the Suunto 9 Peak and Peak Pro, they're at such a high price point that it makes it really hard when you look at the competition. But like I said, I have a 9 Peak Pro coming, so I'll reserve my thoughts on that until I actually test it out. Miguel Varela says, always remember, we run for our enjoyment, not for others. I'm sure you inspire a lot of us with your runs. Oh, thank you very much. But yeah, I agree. You have to do it for yourself. And that's where the whole Strava and social media thing makes it so complicated because a lot of people end up like feeling obligated to post on Strava, or else people, maybe even a pro athlete might feel compelled to keep up with their Strava, or maybe they'll look bad or something like that. So I think it's a weird place we're in right now with social media and fitness. You've got influencers on TikTok and Instagram, make us all feel bad with their 6-packs and, 5-minute pace per mile. So I just think it's good to get a dose of reality every now and then too, which is why I don't share everything on Strava, just, for my own sanity. Hey, from Moscow, I've been watching you for the second year. You shoot great. Keep up the great work. I've been watching you for 2 years now. Happy New Year. You inspire people everywhere. Thank you, Sergey. I really appreciate that. Bradfin Run says, I've been running in Brooks 12mm drop for years, moving to trails, all the drops way lower. Advice for going into a lower drop. Yeah, so that's a tough one. It seems like the whole market for trail running has shifted to a very low drop shoe, but you can still find a pretty high drop. If you like that, there's nothing wrong with a high drop shoe. In fact, a lot of people still wear those and really enjoy it. Um, if you do like it though, I would check out Solomon. They've got the what's it? The Solomon Cross. Why is the name escaping me now? The one with the really aggressive lug pattern. I believe it's like a 10 or 11 millimeter drop. But they have a couple of variations of that Solomon shoe, particularly. I thought Brooks had one with a higher drop, but I know like the Cascadia is a very low drop shoe. And then Hoka and Ultra, they're like 5 millimeter below. Ultra is 0 drop, so don't go there. Have you checked out Topo or Topo? I know they have a 0 drop option, but I think they do have, I don't know. It's tough. I'm not going to share my advice on that because I'm not a high drop shoe runner, unfortunately. All I can say is from what I've heard and from my experience personally, try not to go from a high drop shoe to a very low drop shoe abruptly. From what I've heard, that can lead to, Achilles pain or calf problems. A lot of people say to transition. So go from 12 millimeters to a 5 millimeter drop to, whatever you want, or 12 to 8 to 5. Try to transition into it to avoid injury. And honestly, if you like 12, just stay there. If it's not broken, don't fix it, right? Sergey Rogov, thanks to hormones and built-in trainer, I was able to run a half marathon several times. Thanks for the reviews. Very cool. Thanks for watching. Yevon says, I hope Apple does the body battery in 2023. I think that's a good point. I think they're going to try to do something like that because I see this a lot in the comments in my videos. People love that body battery metric, including myself. And you can get close on Apple if you download the Athletic app. It's $30 a year. I made a video about it a little while ago. But it's a third-party app that you have to download and install. There's also things like Elite HRV, which is another similar thing. But it would be cool to see more out of the box. And that's like my complaint with Apple as a whole is when I get an Apple Watch, I want to like put it on and be able to use it like I would a Garmin. And Garmin comes with everything you need out of the box. Apple, you get to download Work Outdoors and Athletic and Elite HRV and, maybe Gaia GPS to be able to use this like you would a Garmin, which is frustrating. And I wish Apple would just like build in more when you buy one. But I think that's the way they do it, the way they like to do it. They want to give you what you need and let you customize it the way you want. But I do wish there was more. I've been a pretty hardcore Garmin user since 2014. I've always wanted to love to the Apple Watch. I'm not disappointed so far. Nice. Chris R., the Ultra will force more sport watches to go LTE. Not necessarily Garmin either. The Garmin Instinct 2 should have that right circle, should be LCD one. So it can disappear to view the whole screen. Yeah, the funny thing is the Garmin Instinct crossover I have here actually has a full screen. It doesn't have that little circle thing in the corner. And they did that change on the Instinct crossover. But if you look at the older Instinct, which I have around here somewhere, it's got the circle in the corner. Strange move. Thanks for all the great content. Have you heard rumors about the Apple Watch Series 9, battery life, etc.? Unfortunately, no. And if they told me anything, I wouldn't be able to tell you about it. They probably wouldn't tell me anything. So, yeah. The Series 8 and the Ultra just came out in September, so I think it's going to be a while before we see or hear anything else. Brian Squiddish says, I agree with you on the running power. Just interesting to see where all the companies go with it. Agree. Any views on whether Garmin will add ECG or EKG support to the Fenix 7? I suspect that's going to be something they do because they're running out of things to do, to be honest. Back 5 years ago, adding a heart rate sensor was like game changing. Now everything has a heart rate sensor, right? So, the ECG thing that exists, like Coros does that, Apple does that. I have to assume that Garmin is either developing that now or it's going to be coming very soon. Again, total speculation, total guess, but I would have a hard time imagining them not doing it. Tic Tac says, I've used power for cycling and it's helpful there, especially on hilly courses. Doesn't seem to translate to running. Yep, because cycling is such a mechanical thing. Like, the crank is a crank. Your feet are on the pedals and you're just cranking that crank. Where in running, you've got your running form, your running efficiency, how your knees are bent, your shoes, the terrain. Like, there's so many variables there that just don't, it's not apples to apples. And honestly, I wish running power had a different name, but I get why they named it the way they did. I just wish, running efficiency or something, that would be a bad name. I did my first run with Stride this morning. Crazy slow pace for running power range I was in. Interesting. Paul Martin says, absolutely behind you on the transition advice for the high drop shoe to a low drop shoe. I run it in Vibrams. So take that for what it's worth. Brian Squidge says, I use the Garmin HRM Pro and Phoenix 6S Pro for my running power. Zone 1 is so low and had to do a lot of work to get my ranges correct. FLG says, Happy New Year. Great videos. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the kind words. And Scott Struhl says, hi, Dave. Hey, thanks for joining. All right, friends. We've been on the air for a little over an hour now, so I'm probably going to wrap it up here because my family's at home and they want me to get back there because we're going to have a little New Year's Eve extravaganza tonight. Unfortunately, my daughter's been sick for a few days, so our plans tonight are not very exciting. We're probably just going to stay home and be with the family. See if we can stay up till midnight. Something tells me that won't happen, but we'll try. And with that, I do want to thank everybody that's tuned in to watch this live stream. I really appreciate it. Like I said before, if you haven't already, check out the links down below for the podcast. I'm really trying to grow that podcast, so I would really appreciate it if you went and hit the subscribe button or the follow or whatever you do on the podcast on your platform of choice. It's called Chase the Summit Trail Talk. It's really easy to find. Follow me over there. Follow me on Instagram. And final shout out to the Patreon members and YouTube members. You know who you are. Thank you for the support. And if you want to check out the Patreon group or YouTube members group, check out the links down below or hit that join button. That really helps me out. And Happy New Year to everybody out there. Am I missing anything? Oh yeah, final shout out, merch store. I've got the discount going on right now, 20% off everything in the merch store right now. It ends very soon. I think it ends tonight at midnight. I forget when I put the expiration date on the coupon code, but the coupon code is BFCTS20. B as in butterfly, FCTS20 at checkout for 20% off your whole order. And you can get one of these sweet baby hats up here of your very own, and I'll ship it out next week. I promise. And thanks for Sagi, for Eduardo, for DBZ, who have all commented in the chat. I really appreciate it. And I'll see everybody next year. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you have a great night, a great new year. I hope next year treats us all well and we get our miles in. All right, friends. I'll see you next year. Bye. Gotta hit the end screen. Okay, bye.